For today's episode, I have Frank McGovern and Hoan Thai. If you're from the Philadelphia market, you know that these guys really don't need an intro. If you're not, both Frank and Hoan are the highest level real estate investors in the area, and they're both highly respected by others as well as myself. In this conversation, we go over things like business, mindset, growing and scaling a company, and some of the ups and downs that go hand in hand with that, as well as the pros and cons of being a W-2 employee versus running your own business. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows, and we talk about a lot of that in this episode. I'm thankful to have had this impromptu conversation with Frank and Hone. To support this podcast, please like, follow, and share.
You guys want to hit a record button?
We're rolling, man.
Oh, it's
We're
already
rolling.
it's already been recorded.
We're just doing it. We're just doing it.
Oh, and that's why you got to stay ready so you ain't got
Come on, it was your idea anyway. You're like, come on, man, roll it.
Who was getting ready for his intro?
I wanted to do an intro. Guys, welcome to the podcast. This is the Revamp Project podcast. We're here at Revamp 365. On my left, we got Drew. On my right, we got Frank. And in the center is Hoan Tai, for those who don't know. And today, we are going to be talking all about building businesses from the ground up, or building businesses again and again and again, because sometimes that's what happens.
Build and tear down. Build and tear down.
Build and tear
we can definitely
down.
talk about that.
Yeah. When before we started recording, actually, this is the conversation that we were having about building and burning down and building and burning down and redoing that. So I would love to hear from you guys. You guys are restructuring your businesses. Let's start with Drew, since this is your house, right? Drew, you were talking about how you had to downsize your employee count, and then you had to just revamp, right?
Perfect.
You had
Perfect.
to
Well done.
revamp what it is that you were doing. So first, let's talk about what were you doing? What were you doing? And then why did you find that you needed to make a change?
So what I was doing is staying laser focused on the wholesale side of the business, right? Like I've been flipping houses, buying rentals, and doing other creative shit for years. But I would say for the past 3 years, I've been pretty damn focused on the wholesale side. Still usually have a couple flips going, but I had some good contractors and everything, and it wasn't really a super mental capacity draining thing, And yeah, last year, like I was saying, at the beginning of the year, market started changing. Everything started just getting different. And yeah, it was like we were ramping up year over year. It's like 3 years ago, we probably did 30 deals a year. Then we did 60 deals a year. Then last year, we were just shy of 100 deals. And the real reason that I had to slow down massively, I think obviously the market has something to do with it, no question about it. But the bigger pieces are because I did have a bunch of large rehabs going on at the same time, and everything went wrong. And everything that I just said about it not being a time suck and a mental drain.
It was a time suck and a mental drain.
Absolutely. It became like the worst situation you could imagine on like all fronts, because it's like I bought this office. I think I purchased it in April or May of last year. And when I bought it, it's like, I intended it would be a 6-8 week rehab or whatever, and cool, it was going to be $120,000. And then the township drugged me out for like 6 months on my permits and everything. Because upstairs, legitimately, the only thing that I was doing when I purchased it, my original plans, the conference room wall, I was moving over like 3 feet. That was it. And they were like, nah, you need architectural and engineering. Cool. That took, $20,000 to get plans done, get everything submitted. 3 months later, they come back and they're like, whoa, well, everything has to be ADA compliant. All right, cool. So that took forever. And at the office that we were at before, over in media, we were there for 4 or 5 years or whatever. And obviously, like I built an in-person sales team, right? It's like, a lot of people that do everything remote, like I like being in person. I like having my team in person. And that's what I built. Now, since I bought so early in the year, I figured there was no way that I was not going to be done and have the company in here by the end of the year. So I told my old landlord, we're going to be out by the end of the year.
Oh, no.
I didn't get my permits to start here until December. And then you got the holidays, you got everything else going on. And so my carry costs were all adding up. And then I had 2 other giant rehabs where everything went wrong. So it's like I'm $100,000 over budget on multiple projects. Now it's January 1st. My whole sales team is remote. Nobody's actually in the office. And legit, like I'm trying to do everything I can to get back up and running in here because it's like, that's my cash cow. Like I got to keep this running. Fuck everything else. Like even if I'm bleeding out and losing money on them
shiny
things,
objects.
Yeah, man. It's like I got to get this done because this is what pays the bills, right? So legit, from January till March, dude, I don't think I slept more than 4 hours any night.
Wow.
7 days a week. Like I would sleep on a couch here, if you want to call it sleep. Like I would nap because I was still trying to run the company
stuff
through
the
the
gurus
day.
don't tell you about.
Bro, yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
All right, not to scare the people listening, but business is great though. Outside of
Business
all of
was
that,
fantastic, and that's how I got to that point, though.
Right.
It's like that's what got me there. That's what got me to have the ability to have multiple giant projects going on at the same time, buy an office, do all these things. It's just that it happened to be that everything came to a head at the same time.
Right.
You know?
I do want to focus on that part a little bit because it sounds very scary that you're $100,000 over budget here and there and this and that and everything's burning down, it sounds like, right? But the only reason you were in those situations is because you had hundreds of thousands of dollars to put into multiple projects. And how do you get to a point like that? You run a business because as an employee, I don't think, and I have an engineering degree and a master's in financial engineering, and I don't think I'd ever save that much money from my jobs to be able to do anything like you're talking about, right? From my job, like the way people traditionally try to do it. But because we all created businesses, that's all within our wheelhouse. It's like, oh, I bought another property. And people are like losing their minds. They're like, I can barely pay for my house. Yeah, you guys are buying multiple properties, commercial, residential, multifamily, single family. And it's like, how do you do that? And it's because we've invested our time, our money, and our heart and soul into building businesses, which allow us to do all these great things. Now, we have some issues, it sounds like. And Frank, we're going to get to you.
I was going to say, that happened to me like 24 months prior to it happening.
So we go through it, but at the same time, people in 9-to-5 jobs go through it. People are grossly underpaid at a job that they go to every single day, whether they're sick, whether they're tired, whether it's snowing or raining, they still show up. And yet they say to us, what we're doing is risky. They're bleeding out slowly. They just don't realize it. Even though they're getting paid every single week, it's not enough to keep the lights on sometimes.
Yeah, I like to think of it like, they're both hard, right? Like being an employee is hard. Being a business owner is hard.
Yeah.
But I like to choose my hard, and I'd rather choose being a business owner and, dealing with that hard than depending on someone for the rest of my life to give me money.
Now, I would like you to answer this part, Frank. People that I talk to who are employees often tell me that they can't start and then fill in the blank, right? It's like, oh, I have kids. I have a
They
full-time
can't
job.
start because bullshit.
Right.
Bullshit. That's the only thing I would hear after I can't start because bullshit.
Right. And
It's just a bullshit excuse
they
that
have,
you tell yourself.
They have these words. I'll just use words, right?
Excuses.
They have
excuses. Call it what the fuck it is. They have excuses.
If you guys hadn't noticed, I'm the more politically correct one at the table here, right? But I want you to describe, like, what was your life like as you were growing up and getting started in business? Because there were so many hurdles that you had to overcome that when I'm listening to friends of mine who are telling me they can't start, and I'm like, you guys have every advantage in the world compared to some of these other people that I know of, right? So what did you have to go through, Frank, to get started in a business?
Well, when I first got started wholesaling, like I had no experience, no connections, very little money. I was tired of having the job, and getting laid off. Like I was a bill collector for many years prior to getting into real estate. When the economy went to shit and the market crashed, I didn't have a job anymore because business to business collections, like people weren't going to be collecting from businesses. So like losing my job made me pivot and say, hey, look, I don't want to not have control over my destiny anymore. So I literally thought I was going to get in real estate by being a real estate agent. Went and passed the state exam, stumble upon Bigger Pockets in December of 2009. See wholesaling. The next day, I said, "This is fucking it." I ordered 100 Bandit signs, and that was it. You know, it was. I did everything at that point. You know, I was doing the marketing, the dispositions, acquisitions, transaction coordination.
Right.
Like, to me, the biggest thing is like just a mindset thing, right? It's like, you know, are you trying to make this work? Are you going to try at it, or are you going to fucking commit and do whatever you have to make it work?
Right.
Two very different, like, you know, approaches to it. Like when I got started, all I wanted to do was make 60 grand a year and like work for myself. But there was no fucking, you know, I was going to accomplish that or die trying to accomplish it. Like, that was it.
Right.
And to me, like, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, like, over the past, you know, 10 plus years where they'll say, like, oh, I'm going to start killing it in rehabbing or wholesaling or whatever the case may be. Like, hey, what's some advice? You're going to feel like giving up a lot. It's going to be fucking hard. But if you don't give up and you keep putting in the work, you will eventually get the success that you're looking for. Most people, you know, 3 feet from gold, they quit way too early.
Well, they might not even quit way too early. They may not even start at all. And that's really the biggest hurdle.
That's
most people,
yeah.
That's the big failure, right? The people who say, I can't because blank, 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 blank,
yeah, and it's
whatever.
because it's like they'll have a fear of like failing, right? But it's like the only real failure is like you not even fucking showing up. Like, you're not, like, you can't fail at something. You made a conscious choice not to even, like, you weren't even in the stadium to watch the game, let alone play in it.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So that commitment part, doing whatever it takes, is one of the keys that I see consistently amongst all of the successful people, because most of the entrepreneurs that I know of, they didn't have a blueprint that they followed, right? They kind of created the business out of desperation, and they were just so committed that no matter what it took, they would figure it out. The thing that you were saying, like you did the acquisitions and the dispositions and all of that kind of stuff, really what I'm hearing is that was just skill development. You were just padding your resume with skills that actually apply
In hindsight,
to the
I can
world.
look at it that way, but that wasn't.
Didn't feel like that at the time.
You weren't
did it?
like, oh, resume,
It
resume.
wasn't like, yeah, I'm gonna stack up my resume.
You were like,
It's like,
I
oh
wanna
shit, there's
eat.
a lot of shit that got to get done.
Right.
There ain't nobody else to do it, so I got to do it.
And at
That's
the time when you started, Frank, you were also a father already, right?
Yeah, I had 2 kids when I started.
You already had 2 kids, because kids is a big one that people throw at me all of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, Hone, I have kids. You don't understand, right? They take up so much time. So you had kids.
2 kids.
2 kids, right?
4
I think
now.
that makes it easier,
So,
man.
yeah.
I think it makes it easier.
Oh.
If that's not a motivation, like, what is, man?
Right. So that's one of those, like, I can't because of my kids, or I have to
Yeah,
because
it's
of
like,
my
and
kids.
again, it's a perspective thing. It's like, you know, exactly what he said. Like, you know, the excuse, I can't because of my kids, or is it like motivation and drive? I need to do this shit for my kids.
Right. So it's a lot of like what you're telling yourself, right?
Totally.
Be careful of the fucking stories that you tell yourself, because good or bad, they eventually usually play out.
Yeah. One trick that I like doing is not even tell myself a story either way, right? I don't tell myself a story. I just go, okay, that's what I want. Okay, that's what I'm going to work towards. I don't tell myself I can't because I have all of this baggage that I have to overcome. And I don't say I can because of all of these attributes that I have. I just go, okay, that's what I want. All right, sounds cool. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Right? I try to make it even simpler than all that other stuff, right? What motivates you in the morning? Nothing. I don't know. I just do it. I don't think that far ahead.
Focus more on discipline than motivation. Like,
Totally.
discipline will get you places in life. Motivation never will. Like, I'm not fucking usually motivated to do much. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
But it's about like doing the shit that you know you got to do, having the discipline to do that.
Yeah, I was listening to somebody on YouTube. He was like, when a man wakes up and he has something to do, it shouldn't matter how he feels. He's like,
You got to be talking about Goggins. That's got to be David Goggins.
I was going to say it was Goggins, or that was like, that might have been Andrew Tate. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that was
It might
Tate
have
that
been.
said that.
Yeah.
Might have been.
Because
Yeah.
I seen that same clip. He was like, as a man, it doesn't matter how you feel. Like,
Right.
if I feel great, I'm hitting the gym in the morning. If I feel like shit, I'm hitting the gym in the
Yep.
morning.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
just
Don't
whatever,
care.
you know,
Doesn't-
you
doesn't
commit
matter.
and decide, hey, this is the shit that I got to do, and don't focus on how you feel.
Yeah.
Like, do the shit anyway.
Just do it.
And honestly, like, it's, you know, with stuff, like when you don't feel like doing it, and it's like stuff you know you got to do, and then you actually do it, you actually feel good after doing it.
Right.
So it's like you might not feel good or feel like shit like before it, but if it's like you can actually get past that like bitch voice in your head and do the shit anyway, you actually feel significantly better after doing stuff that you don't feel like doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So true.
And you're building that evidence that your brain, if it needs a story, if it needs motivation, it has the evidence now that you can actually do it. And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, I did it in the past. I can do it again. Maybe that's why I don't need all the stories, because they're back there. It's just like, okay, I want to do that. Let's go for it. Right. Yep. And I march forward. And I think I kind of feel that you guys are very similar. You just march forward. Like, Drew, how long have you been in the real estate business now?
8 years.
8 years. And 8 years ago, when you first got started, what was that like? Were you like, okay, I got this master blueprint? Or you were just like, okay, real estate. Like,
That's it. Yeah, just jump in and figure it out. And it was like that's what motivated me to start in the first place, was having my first daughter. It's like she's 11, so like when she was born, I'm like, I want to be able to have financial freedom for my family, right? I want to be able to provide for my kids. I want to be able to provide for my family, and I knew I wasn't going to do that at the job that I was working.
right.
You know, so that's when I started going to local real estate meetups. I hired my first mentor, like right when I first started and everything. And then, I never even really wanted to flip houses or anything. I just wanted to start buying rentals. Right. It just so happened to be that the first deal that I came across made more sense as a flip than a rental.
Yeah.
So I flipped it.
Right.
You know, but there was no master plan. It was just, I want to get into this and just take it as it comes.
Yeah. One of my mentors, he's always saying to me, Hone, I am agnostic when it comes to what I am investing in. If it makes me money, then fantastic, right? And so for you were like, I'm interested in rentals, but this makes more sense as a flip. So I'm going to flip. I'm not going to force it to be a rental and lose money just because I said I want rentals. So you made the pivot, and that was smart of you, right? And Frank, you were saying earlier, like, you don't care about the real estate. It just helps you financially. I say that all the time. I don't even like real estate. For those watching, for those listening, this does not need to be your passion.
No.
And I actually got into real estate because of Rich Dad Poor Dad, talking about passive income, and it can when it exceeds your expenses, you're free. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's it. That's it, folks. Real estate it is, because the goal wasn't necessarily money. It was more of a lifestyle and the freedom to do whatever it is that you want, including, and I feel bad for you because you said 4 hours of sleep. I couldn't do that. I get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. I don't know
the last time that I've gotten I usually, like, some nights I'll get like 4 or 5. Other time, like, if I sleep like 6.5 hours, like, that's a good night's sleep.
Yeah, well, again, lifestyle by design. I made this the way I want.
I feel like that's like because I always would say I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'll sleep when I'm dead. So it's like I can't like sleep that long.
Yeah, and I say I'm retired now, and I'm gonna take these mini retirements for the rest of my life. Right? I'm not waiting until later. And see, and so what's important to gather for you guys listening, you guys watching, is that everybody can create a business however they want.
Yeah,
right, Drew? You have
for different folks.
Yeah, you have a couple of employees, right? You have this facility, and you're running this great operation. And then Frank,
and just to Drew's point, like Drew said earlier, I think before, like we maybe hopped on, but like he wants an office. He likes being in person.
Yeah,
that's the polar opposite of what I wanted. Like when I got started in business, I was like, I don't want to go into a fucking office. You know, I don't want to, like, didn't want to have a big team. And don't get me wrong, I kind of went down that path, had an office and all that stuff. But, like, now I'm at, like, a point where everyone's completely virtual. You know, I don't have an office. I will never have an office.
Right.
Like, maybe an office building I rent, but, like, not one that I'm going to be going to on a regular basis.
Right. So you have a bunch of virtual assistants working for you, Frank, but they're not employees per se. They're, like 1099.
Exactly.
Right. And you don't have an office. And so that's how you run your business. And then for me, I'm all by myself. I don't have a VA that works for me. I just run the things that I do the way I do it. And I have software that helps me do what I do. And I've created the business the way I want it, right? I do deals. And we were talking before all this, we were talking about you guys do paid marketing, advertisements. And then we were talking about organic versus paid. And I said, I do all organic and you guys do all paid. And it's like this interesting thing that there's no right answer.
No. Yeah, there was even throughout my career, like with marketing, like people would always like, oh, like what's like the best form of marketing? You know what I'll tell you. You know what the best form of marketing is?
Come close.
The consistent kind.
There you go.
Whatever marketing that you do consistently, it all works. Now, there's marketing channels that are much more effective than other ones, but if you market consistently, you'll get leads consistently.
All right, so let's talk about this consistent marketing. What kind of consistent marketing do you guys do? Let's start, Drew. Let's go with you first. What kind of consistent marketing do you do? What did you do? What are you looking forward to do in the future? What's working? What's not? How are you doing marketing?
Consistent marketing, man. If we want to go back to the start, like I've always been a big direct mail guy. I love postcards. I love letters. Again, back to this time last year, we were sending 50,000 mail pieces every month. It's one of the things that I was always very, very, very consistent with. But I've tried pretty much every type of paid marketing that there is. I've done RVM, I've done SMS a little, and like we were talking about before this, I'm bitter about it, but...
Damn you, Phil Vaughn.
Shout out to you, Phil Vaughn. We were talking about you.
See you in a couple weeks on the pod.
Yeah, right. The whole SMS, everybody that leverages it can single-handedly blame me, because the reason platforms are getting shut down is because I launched it back up 6-9 months ago. That's the reason they're all getting shut down. It's my fault. But other things that I was consistent with, I ran TV for about a year and a half. That was expensive and effective at first. But the interesting thing about a lot of data tracking and analytics with marketing campaigns, it's always you're tracking a trailing number. Yeah. So it's what you're looking at for this month is likely a result of 2 months prior, or whatever your cash conversion cycle happens to be. And with TV, it's I can't even fully explain why, but we hit a point of diminishing return, and we were probably 3 months, 4 months past it. And even once I did realize it, it was still as long as this campaign can break even at least, because we were spending a lot. I think TV was $16,000 or $17,000 a month for the direct spend, and a management fee on it and everything. But my perspective was that's massive for branding, right? If we can have that credibility speaking with us, oh, did you see us on TV? That's huge.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it was all right, gotta pull the plug.
I've heard TV is very hit or miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
A bunch of guys we know do TV commercials and wholesaling. Yeah. So, but there you go. So what Drew was just mentioning, he was saying direct mail. He does ringless voicemail. Text messaging that he just got back into, and then he did TV commercials. Which one are you still most focused on right now?
Right now, because the theme or the focus of the year, if you will, is reduce costs, increase profitability, has mostly been this year SMS and organic.
Okay. So
which is different for me.
Okay, text messages and organic traffic. All right. What are you doing for organic? How are you building that up?
Honestly, most of it is just having conversations with people that I already know and like and want to be around. And the other piece of it is just actually sharing what I do on social media more. It's so funny because I've always been relatively active on social media. And it's anywhere I go, somebody bumps into me. Oh, yeah, I've been following you. I'm I don't even know who you are, but that's cool, that's awesome. And I feel I'm not super, super active, right? But it blows my mind. I just had a situation 6 months ago where it was a distant relative, but it was still somebody that's in the family. I see them every year at Christmas parties, Thanksgiving or whatever. And they ended up selling their house to another wholesaler. And I'm what the hell? Uh-oh. Legit. Sally didn't know that Drew buys houses. I'm how? How is that even possible?
You were undercover real estate investor.
How is that possible? So I'm man, I need to amplify my message even more.
Right.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So, sharing what we do, and that giant check you saw upstairs when somebody does bring us a lead and we're able to close on it. Whatever, it's situational, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've had a couple recently where it's somebody got paid a $5,000 referral fee, and a bunch of people reach out. They're oh, well, I got this lead. Can I get $5,000? It's well, it's situational. It depends on the deal.
Yes,
if
yes,
you're
you
just
can.
driving
and you don't
down
send
the street,
$5,000. You don't get $5,000 for sending me an address. The deal actually has to close.
Right. I drove by this house.
I saw this house with high grass.
There's a broken window.
It's on the corner of such and such.
Yeah. Do you know the owner?
I'll pay you $5,000 for that.
Do you know the owner? No. Do you have their contact info? No. Is it even for sale? No. Anything? No,
I just saw that check and I wanted $5,000.
I wanted $5,000. I wanted, and it's funny because it's like there's been people in the past that I've kind of mentally dismissed when they've come to me with something like that.
Yeah.
And then it did turn into something. So you don't want to be too dismissive because you don't know. All it takes is that one person with that one relationship and something really huge does come out of it.
Yeah, that's a really good point because you never know who knows what or who knows who. And you can't ever judge the book by its cover. I've had people who have come to my real estate education program and they would look like they're going to be the next it thing, right? They have resources, they're smart, they're well put together, well spoken, and yet they have zero grit. Zero grit. And when they don't do a deal in a short enough time frame, they're done. They're gone. And then the person who I always joke, they don't even know how to spell real estate. And they're the ones who just does. It's like, hey, how do I find a deal? Maybe go on Craigslist, okay? They go on Craigslist. I found a deal. Did you talk to the seller? Yup. Okay, let's go lock it up. They lock it up under contract. All right, time to get it sold. Then they sell it and they make $10,000. And they go, oh my gosh, right? And then it's like, okay, now what? Do it again. And they do it again and again and again. And they have this grit that it's like, you can't buy that.
No, and I think that like too often, like people have like unrealistic expectations kind of going into it, like where they can not have any knowledge, experience, anything. And then you think you're going to start making fucking 50 to 100 grand a month in like 3 months. Like maybe that has happened before, but I've talked to thousands of successful people and it's never happened to anyone that I've spoken to. Like not one fucking person. It took like me, I want to say it took me 3 months to actually get a deal. It took me 18 months to get consistent. And like, you know, there was lots of reasons behind that. Like I had a fucking poor person's mindset. I wouldn't ask for help, like lots. But the thing is like, I wasn't going to give up. Right. And too often, like that's what it is. Like people quit because like they didn't start making $100,000 a month in 21 days, and the real estate thing must not work because I didn't make $100,000 in my first 30 days.
Right. Yeah.
But in reality, it's like you are not doing the work. You know, you are not being consistent with your marketing, having conversations, like learning sales.
Yeah.
Learning how to comp. You know, this is not like it's simple. But it's not easy, right? There's a lot of different moving parts. Like it's definitely like not rocket science, but you know, there's a lot of different moving parts that you have to put together and like figure it out.
Well, it's one of the oldest professions, right? So it's like real estate. Like people have lived in houses since forever, and people have bought
houses. Been a while.
It's been a long time.
In a minute.
And what's cool about that is there are tried and true ways of doing this business. And the other thing is, there's a lot of resources in this business, or should I say supporting businesses in this businesses. Like you can go to a bank and say, hey, bank, I'm going to be buying this property. Will you give me money for this? And they'll easily say yes, as long as it meets a certain criteria. If you go to a bank and try to get a bank loan for a business loan to start up like a new startup that sells like virtual pens. I don't know. I'm just making it up.
Virtual pens. That's a new one.
Right. But if there's like, hey, I got this great idea. It's going to be a virtual pen that it's not really there, but it draws. It's like, okay, well, show us a giant business plan. And it's like, we're 80-20, 80% no, and 20% maybe that we're going to give you the money. But real estate's really easy. There's all of these supporting industries that allow us to do what it is that we do. There's hard money lenders out there that easily give you money for deals, right? And so this is one of, I think, in my opinion, because I've done a lot of different businesses, real estate investing is one of the easier businesses. It's not easy, very simple, not easy, one of those things, but it is easier. You want a hard business? Try opening up a restaurant.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Right?
That's like, I think, like a 95% failure rate
right.
or something like that.
But real estate, I mean, it is a pretty, again, I don't want to use the word easy. I don't. But
I think the word easy is fair, though. I don't think that's not being too extreme. I think that it is easy. It gets complicated when you want to hit 100 grand a month, when you want to hit, 100 rentals in 2 years. Like,
if you were looking to make like 60
goals.
to 100 grand a year and through real estate wholesaling, that would not be that difficult.
Right.
Like doing everything on my own was easier than actually growing a company and having employees and stuff. So yeah,
Totally
if you were
agree.
just looking to make like 60 to 100 grand a year,
Right.
wholesaling houses, like yeah, that would not be super difficult.
And that's called a lifestyle business, right? You
For sure.
you can create that. You can work by yourself. You can have 0 employees. You can have zero staff, 0 virtual staff. You can have no office. You can work out of the corner of your bedroom.
Yep.
And you can create a business that produces multiple 6 figures
Yep.
each year. And it's going to be, again,
No, I think that is easy. I think that is
All
easy.
right. So if we're on the same wavelength here, it is easy to create that. And so for those listeners who think like, oh, business is so hard, I actually think what you guys do as W-2 employees is way harder than what I do day to day. Again, I get the 9 hours of sleep every single day.
Getting in that traffic every day.
Right.
That's
Oh
hard.
my gosh. That's
couldn't.
hard.
I hate traffic.
Dealing with, yeah, and then all of the things that you have to say no to, especially like the things that you get to say yes to, and it's like the time freedom and the wealth that you have, the income that you've created, like the ability to say yes to all these things. It must be so difficult to constantly say no to all those things. Like that would break my heart if my wife wanted something and I'd be like, no, can't get it.
Yep.
Or if she wanted to go somewhere, no, I got to go to work, right? It's like, I love being able to say yes to all those things. So in terms of what's more difficult, I think it's more difficult to say no to all of those things than it is to say yes to building the business that will afford all of that.
Yeah, like one thing I would say in terms of the hard part, like for me, like I have 4 kids, wide ranges of ages. Like I've been able to drive them and pick them up from school. I coached my son in basketball. I've never missed one of his games. I'm just always there for them in ways. If I had a regular job, it just wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been able to.
Right. And the famous saying is the little things are what are the big things.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
You
Yeah.
find
100%.
that out. The little things are the big things. Everybody thinks like, oh, you start a business, you make $1 million, and then like all of a sudden there's a parade for you. No, even if there was, you don't care about the parade. No. You don't. That big check, as cool as it looks like on Instagram or whatever, that big check is not the thing that you're actually after.
Like my 7 and 8 year old have been on a plane more at 7 and 8 than I was before I was 30 years old.
So the cool things that we get to say yes to exist because of saying yes to ourselves, saying yes to the fear and like looking past it and saying, I'm going to commit to this no matter what, and I'm going to achieve this goal. And it doesn't have to be that big. Drew, you said 100,000 a month. There are many people who cannot fathom that. Yet the 3 of us can probably name 10 people who make that, right? Pretty crazy, but it's true. So the world is so abundant. Even though, like right now, the market, and let's pivot to the market. But the market right now, we've had interest rate hike after interest rate hike, and people are really scared. They're saying like the economy is starting to feel it, and this and that, and all that kind of stuff. Yet, even in this market, people are making 6 figures per month, right? So, market-wise, let's get into the details. Where do you guys see the market going? How is it affecting your business? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it neutral? How do you feel?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I mean, look, anybody that does tell you that they really understand where the market's going is full of shit.
Right.
So my perspective is, and again, going back to, that's why for the entire year, the theme of everything that I'm doing business related is work on reducing costs, increase efficiency and profitability, right? Which is something that for years, it sounds crazy, I never really cared about. Like I never really cared about profitability as long as growth was doing what I wanted to do. As long as I was becoming the person that I wanted to become, I was getting better in like all areas of my life. My business was growing. The people around me were growing. That was the main thing that I cared about. It's like,
It's like
sure,
venture capital,
somewhat,
right?
yeah.
They didn't care about profitability. They just cared about massive growth.
I mean, yeah, but when you do look at any big company, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And I guess that was a lot of my mentality was, yeah, look, as long as you can drive revenue, that's like, it's not the most important thing, right? But if you can do that and you can sustain at scale, at some point when you decide to lay off the throttle and start to refine everything, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to be incredibly profitable, right? Like if you're able to be even somewhat profitable through massive growth, when you stop pushing for massive growth, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to really, really dial in on profitability. And that's exactly where we're at this year, right? It's like, yeah, the market's doing what it's doing. Everything that went wrong at end of last year, beginning of this year, everything that, knock on wood, actually, it doesn't really matter. I don't need to knock on wood because almost everything business-wise that could go wrong did, and we're still here. I'm still doing it. We're still profitable in the worst real estate market that we've seen in a long time. And after dealing with everything that could have went wrong in business, and I'm still here and I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's huge.
So all of the failures, you didn't die?
Didn't die. Didn't die.
But did anybody die?
Did anybody die? Right.
Nobody died.
Yeah, that's a big part I want to focus on is because too many people are afraid of what might go wrong. And you're like, oh, everything went wrong.
Dude, I can talk about that forever. Like I think like that the other end of the spectrum from what we were talking about before, the over analysis kills so many people before they get started. I think one of my things that has been my greatest strength, and it's a weakness too because it can hurt you, is being a quick start, right? Not needing all the details and information. Why the fuck are you going to worry about step number 10 when you haven't done step number 1? Go do step number 1.
Right.
And then figure out the skills, resources, and people that you need to do step number 2. Still don't even worry about step number 10.
No.
Maybe have it in the back of your mind, but don't go research the hell out of it. It serves you zero.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Over analysis.
When we were talking about like the fear, like I was going to bring that up. It's like, you know, fear definitely like holds people back, but like like the analysis paralysis, right? Like people think they need to have every fucking nook and cranny of information and have all of the systems and processes in place and get their LLC set up. I literally learned what wholesaling was like one night. The next day I ordered 100 bandit signs. The next day when they came, I put them the fuck up. Didn't know shit about anything. I figured it out.
That's it. And the people who are always like, should I start an LLC? I just say yes. So that you can stop asking. It's not whether they should or not, right? I just say.
I started in January of 2010 when I got the bandit signs. Like I didn't form my entity until like sometime in mid 2011. Like,
yeah.
You know, a year and a half later.
Like it's such a minor point. That's why I'm saying, okay, if you're wondering.
Yeah, you can
just go get it.
You can wholesale a house in your personal name, FYI. It does not have to be in an
Right.
LLC.
Right. So just
you can
get
buy
it.
rentals in your name.
Yeah.
You can do
Probably don't
all,
want to flip in your name, but
all that
everything
stuff.
else, you're good. You can.
That's that step 10, right? That's that step 10. And here's the thing, when you were talking about the do step 1, step 2, step 3, don't even worry about step 10 yet. Here's the thing, you might end up just doing step 1, 2, and
That's
3
absolutely
and
right.
rock out with that
Yep.
and never get to 10 and make $1 million just doing step 1, 2, and 3.
Absolutely.
And that's something, right? And so they're worried about this thing, this arbitrary thing.
Something that may or may not ever come to light. Like you're worrying about something that may never even happen.
That's like me going like, hey, which entity should I start to take my company public? Yeah. Right? I want an IPO. So which one is the best one? Now the answer is C Corp. But like let's pretend like I didn't know, right? It's like, so should I open up the C Corp now? Because like the IPO, which lawyer
And
should I use?
10 years from now, like when I want to go.
Yeah. And it's like, I have no interest in taking my company public, right? But imagine somebody thinking that far ahead. I just want to go to that extreme. Now, are you a real estate agent?
No,
Frank?
not anymore.
Not anymore. Are you a real estate agent?
Nope.
Oh, look at that.
I only
Neither
had
am
my
I.
license for I don't even know, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And I only did maybe like 3 transactions, and 3 of them were personal relationships.
Right. So
I never really worked in the capacity of anything.
yeah. So a lot of people think that they need to be a real estate agent or like it's a big part of it to become a real estate investor. So I'm glad that neither of you are, because I'm not either. And it's like, yeah, we're just investors.
And I say to
Thousands
that,
of deals at this table.
It's
right?
2 very different things. Like I say, like, you know, that's like saying like, you know, you go to like a gynecologist and a neurologist. Yeah, they're both doctors, but very different type of doctors. Well, yeah, an agent and, you know, wholesaling, investing, like they're both real estate, but totally fucking different.
Right. Yeah. Did you guys see that report where 60,000 agents
quit or something?
Yeah, something like that. Like 60,000 didn't renew. How crazy is that?
I don't think that's
surprised.
crazy at all. Yeah.
Well,
Not
yeah.
at all.
Yeah, like if you look at it, I forget what the number is, but like the average like real estate agent like makes like $2,500 a year.
Oh yeah.
Because you like factor in the 80% that don't transact. Like,
Yeah.
And like the 60,000 that quit, they were the people that weren't doing shit anyway.
They
like,
were really,
you know,
yeah.
nobody
But
really lost anything other than maybe
headline.
their parents.
Great headline. But for the real estate agents who are still in the business, but who might be struggling a little bit, and I know a lot are because the inventory is so low.
Well,
People aren't
it's,
selling.
It's because it was very easy, especially as a real estate agent, you know, because hey, I need to sell my house. Like, oh, you're my sister's cousin. Okay, you can sell the house. And you just put it on the MLS, and you don't have to do anything else other than that. And it's been that way for a very fucking long time. Well, it's not that way anymore. So people that actually like the people that will succeed now as the real estate agents, like they're the hustlers, the ones that actually educating themselves. Like they're the ones that have the real like talent and skill set to be a real estate agent.
Not to go off on a tangent, but I think that's not only going to be true in real estate. I think that's going to be true in fucking everything in the coming years. Yeah. Everything.
Right.
Yeah, like I got started in 2010, so it was like it was bad. You know, like it was really fucking bad back then.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There was no new construction back in 2010. Think about that. Like in Philadelphia, there was no houses being built.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, there's a lot of potential deals, no money, right? That's what the 2010 landscape looked like. Today, well, let's say 4 years ago, it was like lots of money everywhere. Lots
of deals were kind of like getting harder to find because there was so many people buying them, not because there wasn't like opportunity, but like everyone and their mother was like a real estate investor and like had money.
Yeah. The money was easy.
Yeah, now the market's changing, the finance is changing in terms of rates and not having, that fucking abundance of money that people can just throw away. So like, just it's going to get harder. But like for me, like I look at it like there's going to be more. Like I wish like I actually knew what the fuck I was doing back in 2010 to 2012 because there was more opportunity at that point in time than there literally has been since. Well, that's what I kind of see like in the next, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
As like people get more scared, more fear sets into the market, interest rates rises, the economy is getting worse. That's going to, just create fear where lots of people like pull back. But if you don't do that, kind of how the people like that were buying in 2010 to 2012, there'll be so much fucking opportunity.
I love it. I love it that the fact that people are so scared. Because then there's only going to be a handful of people left. And people like me who work 3 hours a day or whatever, right? And it's like, all I have to do is do a couple of deals. Yep. And my lifestyle is fantastic, right? Fantastic. I don't have a lot of infrastructure to support. All I'm doing is creating income for my family. And it doesn't even need to be that much. So when everybody exits the market, I'm like, I'm still here. And then I get a couple deals. Guys, that's enough. And that's what's so crazy about it. Now, Drew over here, he's killing it, doing 100 deals, almost 100 deals a year or whatever, right? And that's fantastic. And I love that. And I love that he has this machine that's doing it. It's inspirational, right? And it's a good kind of platform to like study, like, how do you do this? How do you do this many deals? What kind of operation do you need? But there's everything in between. There's the one-man band to Drew with the employees and then Frank with the VAs, and that's somewhere in the middle. You guys can pick however you want to choose to create this thing.
One thing I would just add to that is like, and again, I didn't know this like early on. It was something I figured out after many years, but like trying to figure out what you want, like what is your end goal, and then working backwards from there is a lot easier to kind of set the business up than just kind of, winging it, because again, speaking for me, like I went down a path. Yeah, like a long, hard path, that I didn't have to go down because it was like, I didn't know what I really wanted. Like when I started wholesaling, it was, because I wanted to get into flipping. I wanted to be like this big developer. I literally used to say like I wanted to be like the Donald Trump of Philadelphia. Right. Before all of like,
before all of the politics happened. Yeah.
And, like I got very successful and did good with the wholesaling. And then I remember, and I guess like 2017, 2018, like, I started kind of transitioning into, doing a lot of flips, like rentals, like built some houses. And like over like the course of like 2018, 2017, 18, and 19, I realized like, holy fuck, I don't like doing any of this stuff. Like
Yeah.
if I would have just actually like, you know, because it was just like an ego thing, honestly. Like it was like, I don't want to be a fucking wholesaler. Like who wants to be like a wholesaler? But in reality, like I was really good at it. Like that was like, you know, if I would have stayed down that path and not kind of like started doing the other stuff, like I would have been, you know, so much further along and made significantly more money sooner than doing the shit that I didn't want to.
Right.
But that's a part of the journey too. Like it's so rare that anybody actually really knows what the hell they want anyway.
Right. Nailed it.
Yeah. It's like nobody really knows, you know. So it's, you just really start and you start to learn stuff along the way. Like really, when I started, like my plan was, yeah, man, I just want to replace my monthly expenses with cash flow from my rentals. Dude, I hit that 6 years ago. Why the fuck am I still going? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because you're
Neurotic.
definitely crazy. There's no question about that. You have to be a certain level of crazy. But no, it's everything changes along the way. And once you get to a milestone, you get to a goal, you're never like, not never. Most
never.
people that I know
Never,
are like,
never.
you get there and what's next?
Well, because to me, I think as entrepreneurs, it's even less necessarily about the money and more important to
Absolutely.
be growing, right? Like,
100%.
Yeah.
whenever I feel like, you know, and I've kind of honestly felt this way for like a couple year period, like where, like in business, like, you know, I became much more profitable, but I wasn't necessarily like growing the way I used to, probably like on a personal level. So like regardless of the other stuff, like if you're not like growing, in my opinion, like, you know, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that's important?
I literally don't know the answer to that question. I just know from a personal standpoint, when I'm not growing, I feel worse about myself than if I'm not. Why?
Well,
That's a good fucking question.
that's
I
the-
need to figure
No,
out.
I totally agree. But yeah, it's something that I
the
think
answer
about
is
all
the
time.
human needs, the 6 human needs from Tony Robbins, right? It's certainty, variety, significance, love, and then growth and contribution. So the last two, the growth,
Yeah,
and,
growth and
contribution,
contribution. Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
Frank is dealing with now.
Yep.
Because he's already, not that we don't want more money, but you have the money that you need, right? Everything additional is like the icing on the cake. But now the money represents more than just the money, right? The money represents the impact that you're having. The money is representing the growth that you're experiencing.
Well, for me, like real estate, like has always been about money.
Right.
And now, like, again, I'm never not going to do real estate. I'm just going to be putting some more of my time and efforts into other stuff that will give me more, you know, purpose and, you know, the contribution aspect.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, it's huge because like the money is an inert.
It's a tool too. Like
Yeah, that's
people
it.
like
Yeah.
people get caught up on it. Like, no, I don't fucking care about like old fucking dead people. Like, it's what the money can allow you to do. Like, it's like if you had like anyone, if you had $1 million and you want to help people, like, wouldn't you be able to help more people like more significantly with $1 million and compared to $0? Yes.
totally.
So like, look at money as a tool, and like to me, like money just kind of makes you more of who you already are, right? Like it literally just kind of makes you, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having like a brain
You're
fart.
greedy. You're a greedy rich person. That's what you are, Frank.
Yeah, like
You're greedy.
money's like not gonna like make you like happy. Like if you're a miserable piece of shit and you get money, you will be a miserable piece of shit with money.
With money.
If you're a like
it.
a happy, good person that's looking to contribute and you get money, you'll still be a happy, good person that can contribute even more now that you have money.
Yep. It's so interesting that like a lot of like you were talking before about the broke mentality and everything, and people that think that money is the enemy and people that have money are shitty humans and everything. I can't tell you any of my
opposite.
rich friends
Opposite.
that are shitty people.
No.
They're all
It's funny
incredible
because
people.
like the saying I love, I think it was like Babe Ruth or some shit, but like the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats.
Ooh.
Yeah, again, like I was, you know, just
Gold.
how I grew up and shit, like, you know, rich people were bad, like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer.
Well, that's true, but it's not because of
Yeah,
negative.
it's not a negative thing, it's actually
Yeah.
a positive thing. But it's like, you know, I literally just kind of like was ingrained in my mind that if like somebody like has some like real money, they fuck somebody over. They're probably like a scumbag.
Yeah.
But then like actually like once I kind of like, and I was told that by poor people, obviously. And then once I actually got into real estate and, you know, I know some very high net worth people and people that have like a very good amount of money, none of them are like fucking talking negatively, putting people down, like looking down upon people. Like poor people that I've known all my life, like look down on me more so than anyone.
They talk the most trash about everybody. Yeah. I have this just happened yesterday. I have two friends, very rich individuals. They bet each other.
You have friends?
Good one.
Boom.
Right. So they bet each other to see who can do more pull-ups. You know how much they wagered? $5,000. And it was out of nowhere. We were on a vacation together.
What was the number of pull-ups? I'm just curious.
The one guy hit 12 and the other guy hit like 14. So it wasn't like two like super athletes that one's hitting like 57 and the other guy's hitting 75. It was 12 and 14, right? They bet each other $5,000 on the whim. You know what they did? The loser sent the winner
to a charity
half of the money, and he kept the other half, and they're both giving it away. So they're both now sharing in the $2,500 of distributing it to people who need it. So the one guy, he went to like a diner or something, and he tipped the girl like $400, and she started crying. Right? The other guy, he's like, my daughter goes to karate, and there's another little girl there, and the mom is like a single mom who kind of struggles. He's going to give her a bunch of money so that she can pay for the karate so that the daughter can continue to go. Like, evil rich people, I tell you. Bastards. Can't believe they would do such a thing.
And those broke people with the broke mentality, how many of them do you think, if they came into money tomorrow and they had $10 million to their name, how many of them do you think would make that charitable contribution?
Right. They would like, give me that $5,000 and I'm going to the mall.
You have to change your mindset first, you know?
Yeah, and there's a difference. Like, and I want to make this clear because like there's a big difference between being poor and being broke. Poor is a mindset. Like, you can have fucking money and be poor. Like, that means you have a scarcity mindset. Like, you're focused more on negative than the positive. If you're broke, it just means you ain't got money right now. Shit, I've been broke plenty of times. I'll never in my life be poor again. Like, I was poor growing up, never be poor again. But yeah, there's a big fucking difference between being poor and being broke. Like, being poor, like, that's like a victim mentality. I have no control over my circumstances. Everything is somebody else's fault. Like, that's fucking poor.
That's very interesting. When we first started the conversation and I was asking you about how you overcame barriers or like, you know, what you had to deal with to start a business, and I'm saying that there's a lot of people who have a W-2 job who says, I can't. That really is a poor mindset. They could make a lot of money from their job.
Yeah, like, so that's like, even again, like the podcast shit, like, it's literally like, it's just a mindset shift, you know? It's like, you know, that's like one of the biggest reasons, like, you don't get taught that in school. You know, in college, my parents didn't teach me this shit. It's like most parents, like, and it's like my parents didn't teach me because they didn't know. You know, it's like most people don't know this, but it's like if you can kind of have like an abundant, positive mindset and you're willing to put in the work, you don't quit, like, you can literally get whatever the fuck you want in life.
Right.
But it's like if you're thinking like, just have that negative scarcity mindset where you're, don't have control, someone else is out to get you. It's true. You know, what's that? Is that Henry Ford or whatever? Like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. As I was driving here, I was teaching a real estate agent how to do seller financing, right? And she was like, wow, this is really cool. And I was like, yeah, most agents don't know about this. She was like, yeah, they don't ask any questions about this. And I'm like, well, the truth of the matter is they don't even know to ask questions about this.
Well, the broker that they fucking work for doesn't know about it, so who the fuck are they going to ask?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so not that they're, because there's very rich agents, very rich
agents.
Very crazy rich agents and very rich agents. But they make their money the traditional way, doing the real estate agent thing. If they knew a little bit more, if they thought like an investor, they understood. Even if they understand wholesaling, right? A lot of agents like look down upon that or frown. You know, they're like, this is like illegal agent work that you guys are doing, right? Mm-hmm. But if they learned a little bit more, like owner financing, seller financing, subject to doing all those creative deals, even wholesaling when appropriate, they might find that they can actually add more impact. They can do more deals.
Yeah,
and
just having like more tools in your tool belt. Like it's giving them like, do you know how many times, like, and I'm sure you have had to encounter this plenty of times with the amount of marketing that you do, but like people will straight up say, I do not want to work or deal with a real estate agent.
All the time.
You heard
all
that.
the time.
Yeah. So then what is the seller to do? Like if they don't want to deal with you, like, you know, professionals that are like above everybody, like,
yeah, above everybody.
so they think.
We all immediately felt this visceral thing because sometimes agents do that. I am greater than thou, whatever.
Oh my God.
It's an interesting thing.
About real
Now,
estate agents.
we do not hate real estate agent a lot. We all have a lot of real estate agents.
That's because I don't feel that strongly about real estate agents, but I don't like them.
Yeah. I like you guys, and you guys have a deal that you guys can't move. Give me a call, and then maybe we can figure this out. Don't call. Yeah, hone@honezone.com if you guys want to reach out to me. But
I'm only half serious, agents. Only half serious.
Yeah. But for agents that want to really thrive in this market, I think it's important for them to actually study more about how to be an investor, even if they're not going to be an investor. They can think like an investor. They can all of a sudden see how to make deals happen, because it goes back to kind of like what Frank was saying. You have this commitment of like, I'm gonna be successful no matter what. I'm gonna figure it out, right? Well, when there's a deal that you're dealing with, a property that you're dealing with, and you have a commitment to get that thing moved because the seller needs to sell it, then maybe learn how investors do what they do, because investors are committed to buying more properties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? It's like if you can actually, you know, a lot of agents, like, you know, from my experience, like they don't like even know how to really like analyze a deal, and like kind of like
gosh,
they don't even know what a deal is. Like, I guess to put it the nicest possible way. So it's like if you can actually like educate yourself and be able to figure that out, well, now you actually like, aside from working with wholesalers, you now create like a buyer pool that you would never have, like investors. Like if you can actually identify opportunities that the majority of your competition, other agents, can't, well, serious investors would rather work with that type of agent.
Yeah.
So even if you're not like looking at it from, hey, I want to wholesale, you should educate yourself just because it's going to create more opportunity for yourself.
Yeah. No,
working as a real estate agent.
That's super, super important. And if you do work with investors as your main client, investors want to keep on buying versus a home owner. They buy once every 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just gonna wait until they have to sell, and then like so yeah. Work with the people who consistently do transactions. All right, so let's wrap things up real quick. When people listening to this, they want to become whether an investor, they want to build a business, they want to create a wholesale business, or they want to buy rentals, or they want to do flips, or anything of that nature. They want to leave their 9 to 5, right? Drew, what kind of advice would you have for those people who are looking to actually make that transition?
Take the first step.
Yeah.
100%. Like, because it goes with the theme of everything that we're talking about. And it's really as simple as that.
And what's that first step? Open up an LLC?
I would say no.
So what would be let's go tactical for those listening. What would you literally say, okay, I need you to do this, this, and this? Like, what would that be?
So it depends. I hate giving like just boilerplate advice because it's usually not applicable to everybody.
It's circumstantial.
It depends on what somebody's background is, what their current job is.
Yeah.
What sort of resources
they wanted to get into
wholesaling.
If they wanted to get into wholesaling, because that's where you focus. So what would you think is a good starting spot?
I would still say it's situational, but if we're just going as broad as possible, like what's some advice that could be applicable to anybody? If I'm going applicable to everybody without having to spend a bunch of money.
Right? You see how confusing it is for you, and you're in it. This is the people listening to this. They're like, I don't know what that first step is.
I will go because it's not very confusing to me. Like, one, educate yourself. Like you want to, like, you don't need to know everything, but it's important that you do know something, right?
Yeah.
So like, just understand the very basics of it. Like,
but if that's just step number one, and we're only given step number one, they're not taking action.
Well,
so all got to be in one step, Frank. Put it all together.
we can't do one step.
All right, give him 5. Give me.
So step 1, educate yourself. Step 2, like, take action, and action marketing.
Okay.
So like marketing, right? Like that's the only way that you, And when I say marketing, like it doesn't have to be direct to seller marketing. You do marketing, you don't do direct to seller marketing.
True.
So you have to market. So whether that is going to real estate investor meetings or real estate meetups, or if you have money and you can do direct to seller marketing, or connecting with other wholesalers, other real estate agents, like that's it. Like those two things, and then you literally will start figuring the rest out. Get some basic knowledge of it, start doing some marketing. Everything else will be a learning process.
That was gold. I love it. But while you were saying that, I came up with one step that can summarize all of it. Summarize all of it. Just make up your fucking mind that it's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, yes,
Commit.
That does. I mean, really, that is
first,
all encompassing.
Right. That is.
Yeah, because honestly, like, you know, again, like I say about like trying and committing, if you commit to it, you'll figure it the fuck out. Yeah, you'll figure everything out.
Right. And I'm going to take all that you guys said, and I'm going to do it one more time, right? So you said commit, right? And you're like, market. I will say, I'm going to tack on to the marketing part. Market yourself organically on social media and tell people that you're a real estate investor and that you're looking to buy properties. Absolutely. And then people will contact you with potential deals. And now you have no other choice but to figure out what to do with these things. Whether it's to call a real estate agent, whether it's to call me or email me Hone at home.
No, let's call Drew. Now we're all going to fight at the last couple minutes.
You guys can get the res you want. If anyone has any warehouses,
right,
storage facilities.
Right, but that's like, you're going to have to deal with the scenario. And that's going to make you better. It's the committing. It's just doing things towards it.
It is. Like you learn so much. Like, you know, I'm a huge reader, so it's not like I don't like educating myself, but you learn so much more from taking action and doing than you'll ever learn from like reading a book. So like I said, just basics of understanding wholesaling, and then bang, fucking start with the marketing. Now you're going to be having conversations with buyers, sellers. You know, I literally, Bigger Pockets was my business partner for the first 12 months because I didn't know shit. Yeah. So, like, you know, I'm on the phone with the seller, something comes up, let me talk to my partner about that. Bigger Pockets, what the fuck does this mean? My partner said that.
And that's the thing. That's what's so interesting, right? That was years ago, and there was still so much access to information. Now, like, there is no shortage of information. Any sort of question that you can come up with, there's an answer for it.
Right. Just go to wholesale.com and the answer's right there. Boom. Actually, what's interesting about what you were saying, like you had so much like trials and tribulations kind of things when you were a wholesaler. What's cool is you almost needed to go through that stuff because where you are now doing the commercial stuff, like you're as good as you are doing the commercial stuff because you had all of that residential stuff.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like even when I I made the transition because I realized I didn't want like what I was doing like with a big team office isn't like what I wanted. So that kind of forced me into it. But there was even like some fear there. It's like, you know, it was like, oh fuck, like these people are gonna be like, you know, I'm marketing across the country. I'm in Philadelphia. Like I don't own any. I'm not involved with any, you know, commercial industrial deals anywhere. So like they're going to be asking me what I own and like all this shit. But then in reality, it's just like negative self-talk, bitch talk, and it's like this is the same shit. And then like now like that I've been through it, it's like if somebody's wholesaled a property, right? Like you're 80% there, like in terms of residential to commercial, right? You've wholesaled a property that belongs to a person. Well, this is a property that belongs to a person. Like you have to identify a pain or a pleasure point. You have to build trust and rapport. All of the same stuff you do with houses, you have to do it here. The difference is, you know, it's a longer time horizon. Analysis is different, but it was so much more similar, you know, than it was different.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right, cool. So let's wrap it up. Drew, this is your show.
We're not going to wrap it up. We're going over another hour, man. I got like baby. 12 more things that I want to do.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like,
Frank, we're going to have to hop in here and maybe do this more frequently.
But seriously, like the whole reason that you hit me up in the first place and wanted to come check out the studio, you want to start a show and just share your like what is the real motivator behind that?
So I recently, not recently, I had started a brand or created a brand a couple years ago, but just never really like went full into it. But a passion and a purpose of mine is like mindset. Like I'm a student of it and always will be, and helping people. And And, with the podcast, we're going to be telling stories of people that have been through some shit in life, have been able to overcome it and, get through it. And I think that this, different people from different walks of life, sharing their stories and trials and tribulations can just really, help people. And I truly believe that if people, like, regardless of what circumstances you're at right now and where you come from, if you can have a mindset change and a perspective change, it can literally totally change your life. And I'm just super passionate about that. Like, the podcast and brand is called Fuck It, Phuckit. It's a play on words because I'm from Philly, but also because, through the majority of my life, I would get the fuck it's in a negative way. Especially, like with drinking, that I fortunately haven't drank since December, but like I knew I shouldn't be drinking for like a long time. And like, I'd be going to drink and like, like my conscience is telling me, you shouldn't be doing this. Like, go back home. Fuck it. I'm gonna go anyway. Well, this is going to be a different type of fuck it, a blessing, not a curse. And just really trying to show people about the mindset change and mindset shift.
I love it.
I was just thinking that PH could stand for like positive habits.
The fuck up.
Oh man, I love it. It's an important message, and I'm excited to see you progress on that journey and share that message.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you like offering the, for us to use the space, and it was great just kind of connecting today. We've talked for years, but this is the first time we've ever met face to face. But we'll be seeing a lot more of each other.
Absolutely, it's a beautiful thing. So, just to wrap up, I know you already mentioned your website again. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social platforms. Hone Zone, that's HOANZONE, or you check me out at honezone.com. Also got a YouTube channel, also called Hone Zone. Obviously.
But nobody can send you deals.
But
they gotta send them to me. They gotta send them to me. Unless you want to send a commercial deal to Frank. Where can they find you, Frank?
You can find me on Instagram at fuckitfrank, PHUCKITFRANK. And on Facebook, Frank McGovern. And my email is frank@frankbuysphilly.com. If you have houses, send them to Drew. If you have commercial, industrial, send them to me.
I love it.
Hone can do that organic marketing he's used to.
And if you want to quit your 9 to 5, hit up Hone.
There you go.
Hone's like, Hone's like,
He's like, wait for it, wait for it.
Is there somebody else coming in the room?
Yeah.
Love it.
Right.
Thanks so much for coming, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to be able to like launch a fund from the podcast, and Hone will be the fund manager.
If that's deal number 1, that's pretty awesome.
That's a hell of a deal, right?
That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah. And what is revamp? Why revamp 365?
So when I started the wholesale company, my intention was to grow to be able to do 365 deals a year.
Oh,
So you're saying that
nice.
he kind of
Okay.
created these?
Okay. Did you do 365 deals in the year?
We did not. My plan was to be able to hit that this year.
Okay.
And been ramping up year over year for the past 5 years. Closed, I think, like 100, just short of 100 deals last year.
Wow.
And yeah, then with the market shifting and everything, it just seemed to be a irresponsible thing to continuously dump money into it to try to grow when there was so much uncertainty, So now, like, my focus this year has largely been how can we reduce costs, increase profitability while we work on dialing in systems and processes.
Got it. And how long have you been in the real estate business for?
8 or 9 years.
Awesome. Do you hold any rentals?
I do. Yeah, I have. I like multifamily,
Yeah.
all in Delaware County because Delco taxes suck. So multifamily helps having multiple tenants under one giant tax bill.
And there's
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right now I have 22 units.
Nice. Awesome. And then how many people do you have working for you?
Right now, 5.
Okay.
5. Scaled back a lot. Like I said,
How many
like
did you
this time last year, which was so weird to me. So like I started to hear at the beginning of last year of trouble that other people were having like around the country. And it's not like everybody was like, oh, the sky's falling or anything.
Yeah.
But people were having trouble, Flips are sitting longer.
Yeah.
You know, costs are going up on everything. On the wholesale side,
Yeah.
sellers are more unrealistic. Buyers are a little bit more hesitant. So things were changing, right? And I started to see people as the year progressed. Some people just exiting the wholesale side. Some people reducing staff, laying off the gas, whatever. And it was such a weird feeling for me because I'm like, I hear you guys and I see changes happening in the market, but I'm not seeing the changes in my fucking business. I'm not seeing it. We were growing, man. I'm like, how are we growing when everybody else is like contracting?
Yeah.
So it felt good, but scary as shit at the same time because I'm like, I can't really pinpoint what we're doing that is better than
Sounds
what other people are doing. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, still, all things considered, I was like, we're growing. I was hiring like crazy. I brought on like 4 more people in Q3 when everybody else is laying off. And yeah, we got up to like 12 people at that time. And yeah, I mean, we were spending between 40 to 60 grand a month in marketing. And shit was rolling in. Like we were closing deals. Everything was great.
Wow.
And then I think it was like the second rate hike that happened.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, it was a giant pause and it scared the shit out of me, man. Because it's like.
Well, just always remember, you can look at historical data about this, but like when the market crashed in like fucking 06, 07, 08, like there was still a ridiculous amount of volume going on.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So like even regardless of how the market is, like people are always going to be buying and selling houses.
Yep. And that's one thing that always has made me feel good about it, especially with the wholesale business, because regardless of what the market does, there still will be people that need to deploy money, and there's still going to be distressed sellers,
yeah,
no matter what.
Like from the residential perspective, like to me, is like rates are increasing and continue to. Like I'd be pitching owner finance more. Like, hey, you want more money? I can do that, but you got to work with me on the other terms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I think that'll be a more useful strategy, especially if, and it looks like they will, the rates continue to rise.
Yep.
Cool.
Have you ever done some sub 2 stuff?
First rental I ever bought was first 2 rentals I ever bought back in 2012 and 2013ish. One was subject to, and one was owner finance.
Okay. Hell yeah. That's awesome.
One of the fucking big New York, like for the bigger like industrial deals I closed this year, I negotiated owner finance. It was like a $1.5 million purchase, or 1.4. I think we put like $300K down, 5.5% interest only for 12 months, and then a balloon payment. But we got, like when we closed on it, the revenue was at $20K a month. We already have it to $30K a month, and it, within 12 to 18 months, it'll be in the 40 to 50 some K range.
Damn. And was that just? It wasn't adding space,
that was an
right?
SMS lead.
Was it really?
Yes.
Return on ad spend is what?
That a VA in the Philippines negotiated.
Woo, baby.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
All right.